Since your first concept, we have been stepping forward in faith. At first, I was just a vision, a hope that was started by Pastor Robert Sander and 109 charter members. On September 15, 1946, a groundbreaking service was held here on land donated by the Wilmore Coal Company. Building in western Pennsylvania during the winter did not prevail, so construction began again in the spring on the original cinder block building. You now call it Sander Hall. On Thanksgiving Day, 1947, my walls were filled with singing and praise as you celebrated the first service in the White Chapel on the hill. You grew. More people came. Before too long, a building committee was created to lay out plans for building additional space. Only 4 years after your first service in my walls, you added to me. More space was needed. Sunday school classes were being held in the boiler room. Pastor Sanders said, "No time is the right time for a church to conduct a campaign for funds. Today, costs are up. Materials are scarce. Yet, if the Christian church down through the years had waited for the right time to build and advance, the church would not be what she is today." So, space was added. You decided to have the shell contracted out. But it was your hands that finished me inside. And still you continue to grow. Wilmore Coal Company donated an additional 2 acres of land. You filled my walls with laughter and learning when you offered the first kindergarten in this community. And yet there was no stopping you. This time it was to be more Sunday school rooms, a multi-purpose room, and offices. So in May of 1963, you and Pastor Stewart broke ground for my third phase. In 1975, while celebrating our 30th anniversary, you burned the mortgage. But you didn't stop there. You kept moving forward. In 1977, you filled my rooms with over 200 volunteers who had come to help clean up after the flood that had devastated Johnstown. And again, you continue to grow and move forward. In 1984, Beatrice Parks, a church member, also had a vision. She bequeathed $182,000 to our future growth. And then, in 1991, I watched you gather under a yellow and white tent located on the side of the building to break ground, this time for a larger sanctuary. Yes, additional offices and a conference room would be added, but the focus was on a larger worship area. So, what is next? You have opened your hearts and my doors to the community. My grounds have been filled with the laughter of children and have been preened and pruned by your loving hands as you molded the landscape. At times, I get a little worn and need a little repair, a little pick-me-up. But I am reminded of a song I have heard the children sing. It still resonates in my walls. The church is not a building. The church is not a steeple. The church is not a resting place. The church is the people.
I think one thing that excited me about joining Mount Calvary over a year ago was that it's a very family-oriented church. My son, my fiance, we came in, we were welcomed with open arms, and it's just a church that we can grow up in. The kids can go to Sunday school, we're going to be married in the church next year, and everybody just treated us like we've been going here forever.
Mount Calvary, basically the family atmosphere, the kids' messages during the service, the young adults, families with their kids, seniors, and 2 or 3 generations of families sitting in the same pew. That kind of stuff basically is a nice family church atmosphere and was lacking at my last church. So I like that about Mount Calvary.
I'm excited about Mount Calvary because I've been a member also a long time and have seen a lot of changes. I think this is the best time for Mount Calvary. I think it's going to make its mark around Johnstown. I think a lot of people are going to start coming. We offer a lot of programs for the youth and the children, and I just think that Mount Calvary is going to grow even larger and larger.
This is a church that my dad grew up in, so of course that he'd have his family go here, and I've been attending this church my entire life. I was, I got my first communion at this church. And so, I've kind of made a connection to this church, and there's kind of a place in my heart for this church. And I've made a lot of friends here. I attend Westmont High School, but there's kids here from all over, from Richland, Wimber, and, I don't get to see them. But, at church, I get to see these people, and they've really become my friends. And there's just a place in my heart for Mount Calvary. If I would change something about Mount Calvary, I think I would like to add a contemporary service. I think that'd be something cool to do maybe in the future. I attend a Christian school, Messiah College, and, they have, it's all contemporary. We meet twice a week for chapel, and it's all contemporary, and I've really enjoyed that, and I think that'd be really cool to do at my local church, just to add a contemporary service.
Well, come to Mount Calvary because first of all, it's close. We don't have to travel very far. Second, most all of our family can attend, which is nice. And I do like the new changes with the service being on Saturday and Sunday because it gives us more of an option. So those are some of the things I like. There's a good youth program too for our grandchildren.
Okay.
And they seem to enjoy that. Okay. If I could change something about Mount Calvary, it would be the sound system. My husband has a hearing problem and he can't hear most of the service. So if that were a little more clear. And I think also another idea that I thought would be nice, I've been into some churches where they have the big screen and you don't need a hymnal, and that's nice. And also, they seem to have a good sound system with those churches too, so I like that too.
So what is the Lord calling us to do? How do we step forward in faith to do what the Lord wants us to do? We're looking at worship. We're looking at ministering to families and children, reaching to the community, dealing with our seniors, all of that enhanced, first off, by fixing the building up. We need this location to do that. But also then, in the middle of that, focusing on what do we do in this building. So that's really what we're talking about stepping forward in faith. It's not just simply getting the parking lot paved or the sound system repaired. It's having something that's alive and vibrant to park for, and then hear when you get here. That's what we're really trying to do.
From the moment you drive down Scalp Avenue and see it, the signage out front, the parking lot that you drive into, and walking into the door, hear that this is seen as a congregation with a vital, a growing ministry, an active ministry, especially to those families with smaller children. Because those families are different than they used to be. They spend so much time, the parents spend so much time driving their kids around, beyond working 40 hours a week, probably both parents. They spend like an average of 10 hours a week, each parent, driving their kids to lessons, sporting events, musicals, plays, band practice, whatever it is. Their extracurricular activities are so important to them, and that's okay. We just want to make sure that in the midst of that, we're offering an enticing opportunity that would engage their child, would spark that seed of faith in them and create over the years a burning desire to have a relationship with God in the midst of God's people.